Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome into Movement Parallels Life. I'm Kellen Mylad, and I've got a flow session for us today. A lot of movements in this one. This probably isn't the best class for beginners, but as always, going to do my best to provide different options and different modifications. So wherever you're at, if you feel compelled to give this a try, come on with it. We're going to start off with a quick warm-up series. Then we're going through, I think, like 14 different movements. It's a lot, but we're gonna take it movement by movement for the first round, talk through some modifications and give you the opportunity to play with those movements, and then we'll finish off by going through the full series in a flow format. So the idea of flow to me is making your movements smooth and polished and having these seamless transitions from movement to movement. It's a quality, just like we talk about strength and mobility. Flow is a quality to be developed, and you can do it different ways. We're just doing it through these bodyweight primal movements, all right? So that's pretty good for our intro. You know, as always, just make good decisions, take care of your body, modify as need be, and you'll be all good. Let's start off with a little bit of a warm-up series. So we begin in a knee-hand position. Make sure the arms are locked out, elbow pits spun forward, long spine, strong core. And just gonna begin with a little forward and backward rocking. As you rock forward, bringing your shoulders past your hands, really push into the ground, keep your shoulder blades protracted and press the pads of your fingers into the floor. This is gonna give some extra support for your wrists. Come back to center and we'll go through some spinal articulation. So round your spine, press your upper back to the ceiling and tuck your pelvis. You might even rock back and forth a few times here in this spinal flexion. And inhale, arch your spine, take your gaze to the ceiling, a little rocking. Exhale and round. Inhale and arch. Just keep that going for a little bit, working at your own cadence, your own blend with this movement. And again, allow your body to take the lead. Listen to what your body has to say about these gentle movements so you can make good decisions as we go through today's practice. All right, now stabilize your spine. Take one hand, place it behind your head. Your support arm stays locked out, actively pressing through the ground, and going to come into a thoracic rotation. Hold for a moment, and then going to close, taking the elbow towards the opposite hip. Open and close. Do 4 more on this side. Last one, open, close. Plant the hands, switch sides. Let's get another 6. Open, close it. Down, return to the knee hand position, stabilize, and now we'll go on to some hip circles. So you're going to lift one leg, and make sure this doesn't create too much arch in your spine. So you're going to keep yourself hollowed out, some tension to stabilize your core. Lift and press your foot to the ceiling, and then you're stepping over an obstacle. Circle your hip around. Do about 8 of these. Plant and switch. Bring it down. Sit your hips back, coming to a low kneeling position. Rise up to a tall kneel. Subtle weight shift to one side. Freeze up one leg to step out to half kneeling. Glide forward, coming into the stretch. Come back. Reposition your foot. Find a different angle. Glide. Come back. Another one. 2 more. Keep opening the angle of your hip. Drive the knee forward, sit into the hips, find the stretch that works for you. Return to the low kneel, tall kneel, shift and step out. Back to kneel. And we'll stay with that pattern, but we'll alternate sides, mixing up the angles. Step out, pause for a moment, feel the strength and stability. Come back to kneel, switch sides. One more each side. And return to your kneeling position. Now some rotation reaches. So from this kneeling position, rotating through the shoulders, planting the same side hand and reaching across your body to create the stretch. Come back. Switch sides. Let's get one more each side. Come back to facing forward. Low kneeling position, but tuck your toes and you can adjust the height of your kneel. If sitting low here is just too much pressure on your feet, then start up higher here. But maybe work from high to low, gradually adding more pressure, more stretch to the feet. If you want to expand on this, plant your fingertips just out ahead of your knees. Rock back. Bring your knees down to kiss the ground. Rock back. That's feeling good. You can try to make that transition without the assistance of your hands. And I encourage you to only take those next steps when it becomes easy. It's not necessarily worth it to overreach, to do the next thing, to do the hardest thing. Work on, because we're focusing on flow, we're focusing on smoothness within the movement. So find a pattern that works for you, work to master it. There's always an opportunity to move forward. We've always got another practice ahead of us, but to be where you're at and focus on really polishing the movements we can set our intention there today. From that toe squat, we can transition into a deep squat and start to play around with this position. Whatever expression of the deep squat's going to work best for you. It doesn't have to be this perfect bilateral squat. We do want to focus on maintaining an elongated spine, but if your heels are coming up, or you're rocking side to side, or you're in a split squat, or you're up a little bit higher, these are all positional adjustments that you can make, whatever's going to be best for you. You can maybe bring the palms together, pry the hips open with the elbows. After a little bit of time, you might feel your hips start to open up, create a little bit more space. Maybe from there we can go to an overhead reach. From this squat position, elevate the hips, coming into a forward fold. Just creating some length, some stretch in the backs of the legs. Micro bend in the knees. You can organize this position to keep your spine long, or allow your upper body to relax and fold forward. Again here, just encouraging you to add a little bit of movement. Change your foot position, move around, sweep your torso around, because these are going to add these different positions are going to give you different sensations of stretch. And those different stretches help warm you up and just give you more input about where your body's at today. We'll sink back down into the deep squat. Reach back, plant one hand on the ground, and lay your knees to that same side to come into a side sit position. Keep your spine long. Lean forward from the hips to find the stretch. Keep the feet in contact with the ground. Take the knees over to the other side. Lean forward into the stretch. Swivel. Fold. Again, swivel. Fold. Again, swivel. Now, rise up onto your knees. Sit. Swivel the hips. Rise up to the knees. Again, sit. Swivel. Rise. Last time. Extend the legs, coming into a straddle long sit position. We're just going to hang out here for a few seconds and adding little movements to find the stretch that's going to work best for you. So ideally, you're able to keep your spine long, sit tall here. Maintain that long spine as you lean forward from the hips, rock side to side. Rock back. Cross your legs. Fold forward. Sit back, extend your legs. Another pass through our long sit. Two more overhead reaches. Back to cross sit, crossing your legs the other way. From this cross-sit position, whichever leg is tucked in closest to the body, so my left leg is tucked, I'm going to post with my left hand, lift my hips, pressing on the edges of my feet, rotate, come into a crawl position, elevating the hips. Then lower the knees, reverse, switch the cross, do one more of those. Right leg is tucked in, right hand posts, lift, rotate to crawl, elevate the hips, lower the hips, rotate to cross sit, back to crawl, rotate the other way to cross sit. Crawl, rotate, cross sit. Rotate to crawl, rotate to cross sit. Rotate to crawl. And we'll finish up our little warm-up series here. Just a little bit more wrist work. So spread your fingers, glue your palms down into the ground. Start with some elbow spins. So you're pressing into the ground, shoulders are protracted, and you're going to rotate your elbows. Elbow pits face forward, spin them inward, spin them forward. Ten more. Spin the elbow pits forward, then press your knuckles down into the floor, lift your palms, find your stretch. Pause for a moment, lower the palms, and lift. Two more. Last one, hold it out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Turn your fingers out sideways. Rock from side to side. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, fingers, palms facing forward, last stretch. Drop your elbows down to the floor or down to your thighs. Open palm stretch. So we've got, as usual, some crawling movements. Might play around with some handstands today. So it's worth the time to prep your wrists. They don't often see a lot of movement. They don't often get trained. So these stretches, these little mobility drills are really going to help avoid pain that gets associated with a lot of the ground movements that we do. So there we go. That's our warm-up series. It's a nice, thorough warm-up. Gives you the chance to check in with your body. Now let's get on to our primary series movements. All right, we took our time warming up and mobilizing. Now we're going to start going through each of these movements one by one. We'll spend about 75 seconds going through these movements. So you can take this at your own pace. You can get as much work in as you need to. You can make this as intense as you want. My goal here is to just introduce you to each of these 14 different movements, help you find a variation that's going to work best for you. All right? So timer's going. We're starting off supine position. We begin with hip presses. So you can begin with your arms out to your sides. Bring your lower legs together, knees together, and using the strength of your core, draw your thighs in towards your chest. And as you do that, your hips are going to lift off the ground. Once your hips are up, maybe you can press your hips upward to the ceiling, and your arms pressing down into the ground is going to give you some additional stability. Might be a little movement to start out, and that's fine. Again, I want you to really focus on engaging your core, drawing your thighs in towards your chest. Let that create the lift. Feel this connection with your lower abdominals as you press upwards. If you want to add a little bit more here, you can start to rock back and forth and rotate. And then on your own, draw in and press up. Second movement, supine position. Now from our tuck position, extending the legs, extending the arms either to the sides or out overhead, coming into a hollow body position. Tuck position, extend, hold this hollow body position. Now the goal here is to make sure your lower back stays in contact with the ground. Tuck in, using the strength of your abdominals, and then challenge the position by lengthening your levers. You can extend both legs, extend one leg, straddle your legs, and you can do the same modifications with your arms. Coming back to this tuck position as your base, or if you just want to take a little rest, bring your feet and shoulders down to the floor. Next movement, drop your feet, relax your shoulders for a moment. We've got another big core movement coming up, V-ups. So I'm going to start with a diagonal V-up. Arms extended overhead. You're going to lift one leg and then sit up. Reach for that leg with your opposite hand. Lift, sit up, reach, and switch. You can do a full V-up as well. It's another option. Start in this hollow position, lifting the legs, and then explosively sitting up to meet the legs at the top. Next movement. Rock up, post your hands behind your hips, inverted crawl position. We're going to go with bridge reaches. So the arms are locked out, I like fingers pointing out to the sides, and shift your weight to one arm, hold the other arm in tight. You're going to lift your hips, press up to the ceiling, and then extend your arm up overhead, bridge reach, bring it down, plant, and switch. So the modification here is just working with the range of motion that's going to work best for you. You might change the angle of the reach. Big thing we want to focus on is making sure the support arm stays locked up. So we don't want the arm bending or collapsing into the shoulder. Press the ground away, extend and reach. Back to our inverted crawl position. Now we go to pass unders. Opposite hand foot balance. The leg that's lifted is going to pull underneath the body. So my left leg is lifted, I rotate left, draw the leg underneath, plant my hands, come to my foot hand crawl. Reverse the path, then switch sides. So this is a common one. This movement shows up everywhere. It's probably in all my videos. If you've done them before, I'm sure you're well versed in the pass under. So if that's the case, you might start incorporating some crawling, either foot hand or inverted. But again, if our focus today is on flow, we want to make these transitions smooth. And the transition brings us from one position to another, or one movement to another, with no interruptions. Come back to inverted crawl position, sit your hips to the ground. Next movement, we've got to rock up into our deep knee bend. So generate some momentum with a tucked rock. Rocking up onto the feet into a toe squat position. From here, you can even sink back, bring your knees down to kiss the floor, come back into your toe squat, rock back. This one requires some decent mobility, and the less mobility you have, the more timing you need. So if you're having trouble with that, if you're good with that, keep working it. If you're having trouble with that, you might go rock up, figure four legs, half kneel, and step into your toe squat. Look at that again. Now we're back to our inverted position. Or rather, we'll start in a toe squat position here. Reach one hand back, post the arm. Lean back to load this arm. Now, the free arm is going to swing across the body and plant on the ground. So I'm going to swing to drive the movement, then turn my head to spot the ground, spot right where I want to put the hand. And when you're starting out here, you're going to shift more weight into your toes as you make the rotation. As you become more comfortable, you're going to press up through the hips, and the timing here, the lift of the hips, the swing of the arm. And this is our spinning, inverted spinning transition. One more. Spin will take us all the way around to our crawl. Next up, handstand hops and squat hops. So from this backloaded crawl position, springing forward, and just a little jump off the ground. It's a big ask potentially. You might prefer to lift your hips and shift forward. Kind of come into this modified inversion. Otherwise, sink down, load up the position, shift, and jump. Soft landing, and then spring forward. Jump your hands outside your feet to come into a deep squat position. Plant the hands, press in, jump back, handstand hop, soft landing, squat hop. Jump forward, squat position. From the squat position, planting a hand, keeping the feet on the ground, laying the hips down, we come to our side sit. Press with the hand, push back up to squat, then over to the other side. Use as much support and push from the hands wherever you need the support. However much you need to use your hands, it's all good. Making this transition from squats, from side sit, press up to your squat. We'll meet at the side sit position. Now coming from side sit into kneeling. Just like we did in the warm-up, rise up to your knees and then slide your back leg forward, bringing your knees together for a low kneeling position. Shift weight, slide one leg back, side sit position. I can do a few things at this point. I can swivel switch my hips. Rise up and slide. Or I'll slide the leg back, sit, extend both legs. Come up to our kneeling position. Next movement, we've got a hip roll. So from knee hand position, shifting weight, sitting to the hips, rolling across. You can start at kneeling, plant, roll, finish at kneeling. Another option, can come down low to the ground. Then I'm going to plant my forearm, roll across my back. Then transition, kneel, lay back, bridge. Bridge hold or bridge push-ups. Might work with basic hip bridge, and you can work with any variation of the hip bridge. Might be basic double leg bridge, single leg march, single leg bridge, or we can go into full bridge, planting the hands. I'll lift the hips first, make sure the hands are grounded, and then press up. At the top, it's driving to the arms to fully extend and then pressing the chest forward. You can hold the position or lower down and press up. From that bridge, you sit up, just check in with your spine. That's a pretty extreme range of motion. Got 2 more movements. Got our rock up. So we lower down from the bridge, create some momentum. In the same way we did before, gonna either rock up into a squat position, with figure 4 legs up to a half kneeling position, or rock up into a single leg squat. So you're going to work with the version of the rock up that's going to be best for you today, or mix it up. Rock up, final movement. We need it standing. Set up a split squat, split stance, and we're going to do just a switch jump. So in one motion, jump, switch the legs, find the switch, find the stability. Jump, switch, get stable, pause, get stable, and switch. Now, you can always step forward and back. Change the intensity to match your level. When we go through our flow, we're not going to do a ton of these. So this is just the last round here, last interval, last few seconds. You can get a few explosive switches in. That's time, and that's our flow. Really what I should say is those are the elements of our flow, and now we're actually going to work on the flow. That first round was more circuit style. We spent 75 seconds on each movement. Now it's going to be much less time, and we're going to focus on the transition from pattern to pattern to pattern, making clean transitions, staying in continual movement, and keeping the flow going for 3 consecutive rounds. I'll be calling out the switches and going through as well, so you're going to have some visual and auditory cues to follow. We'll start slow and pick up the pace a little bit each round, and you're going to start to fall into that flow. Remember the movements, remember the variations that work for you, and each round, it's never going to be perfect, but each round is going to get a little smoother. That's our goal, all right? So let's start off. Get set. We're beginning with supine hip presses, going into hollow body extensions, and then on to V-ups, and we'll take it as it comes. Starting off in 3, 2, 1, supine hip presses for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hollow body extensions for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. V-ups for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inverted bridge reaches. 4 alternating sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pass unders. 1, switch. 2, switch. 3, switch. 4, switch. Sit. Rock back, rock up. Deep knee bend for 4. 3 more. Last one. Post a hand, inverted spin for 4. Turn over, handstand hop to squat hop. To squat. Transition to side sit. One more. To squat, to side sit, to kneel. 1, 2, 3, 4. To hip roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bridge for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rock up. Now we'll combine these last 2 right into 4 switches. Rock back, rock up. 4 switches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rock back and pause. That's 1 round through our full flow. Let's come right back. Round 2. We're starting with our supine hip presses for 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hollow body extensions. 1, 2, 3, 4. To V-ups. Bridge reaches. 2, 3, 4. To pass unders. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rock up, toe squat for 4. Rock up, toe squat, inverted spinning transition. Flip it over, handstand hop, squat hop. Squat to side sit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Side sit to kneel. Hip roll. Bridge. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rock up to switch jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Final round. Hip presses for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hollow body. 1, 2, 3, 4. V-ups. Bridge reach. Pass under. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rock up to knee bend. Spinning transition. Spin through, handstand hop, squat hop. Squat to side sit. Side sit to kneel. Hip roll. Bridge. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower down. Rock up. Switch. Bring it down. Control your breathing. All right, that is our practice today. That last bit was about 10 minutes of perpetual motion, and because we're in this class format right now, we're still prioritizing learning. There were still some pauses between the movements, but those things start to iron out in time. You start to decrease the pauses between movements, and you start to add more filler or improvisational movements that make your flow kind of your signature movement style. And that's one of my favorite parts about this aspect of training is it brings more creativity and authentic expression to your workouts. There's a time and place for the sets and reps and a lot of structure, and I think there's also a time and a place to open things up, play, explore movements, because there's a lot of goodness to find there. So I hope you enjoyed this class. Keep in mind that was a mega flow, a lot of movements. If you're working on your own, I'd encourage you to start with 4 or 5 movements. If you've got a whiteboard or somewhere you can display those, write the movements down. Doesn't matter what you call them, just so you can remember what they are. Practice the movements, practice the transitions, and then flow through the sequence as a whole. Try not to put too many expectations on yourself. Just let it be fun. Let it be a work in progress. Let it flow, and I promise you it's going to add a lot of value to your fitness in the long run. So thank you so much for joining me for this practice. If you want more, check out my training app on the Playbook platform. The link is in the description. Appreciate you coming out and moving with me. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next practice.